Selena was looking at the provided credentials and mark history given to her by a one Obsidian, a Minyal Yil. He was an up-and-coming hunter with 17 completed marks and a burgeoning reputation of bringing in his marks alive, even if the request did not mind the target dead. The request was rather extensive. An entire combat-rated dedicated flight array system to be mounted onto his reinforced skeletal structure. The documentation provided stated that the actual wetware work and interface had already been done and happening for some time. He simply wanted another addition to his modular design apparatus, something that could be attached or removed on an as-needed basis, and able to work with a high-end quick autoloader whose specifications were also provided. It was going to be a very expensive order, and would require a miniature reactor or a series of microreactors, neither of which could be printed. The raw materials would also be expensive, as they needed to be strong and light, a magnesium or titanium alloy of some kind, or if he was willing to shell out the credits, a synthetic metalloid alloy made in a space forge. Selena had considered making her own prosthetics out of a new age material that could only be made in a space forge. However, doing so was exceedingly expensive and required an extensive forging process due to the fact that she would need many multitudes of separately forged small pieces of metal. It was simply cost prohibitive, and buying ingots to machine herself were absurdly hard and difficult to lathe, requiring specialized equipment with very high torque, ultra-hard synthetic diamond-edged blades with a Terra Republic hardness rating of at least 15, and a cooling system of some kind to prevent the cutting edges from warping due to friction heat. It was also a cost-prohibitive process. While space-forged metal was expensive, for a dedicated flight array system it was doable, if only just, as only the outer shell casing, flight actuators and support structures need to be forged from such a durable metal. The rest of the available space would be taken up by the reactor system, damage control apparatus and reactor fuel storage. She responded with the fact that she could not give an estimate without first seeking what kind of interface system he had installed onto his skeletal system. Now, what he was asking for was a tall order which was going to be expensive, even with her below-average race due to the demands he had placed. Setting up an in-person meeting for some time in the next few rotations, she then began to read up on mineral yield physiology. There was much she had forgotten. "This is just like college all over again," Selena said as she rubbed her eyes, her vision blurry a bit from looking at her computer's vidscreen for so long. Putting her machine into a power save setting and turning off the vidscreen, she stretched and made her way upstairs to her kitchen. Looking inside her refrigerator and seeing nothing that she could make as it was nearly stark empty, she closed it with another heavy sigh. After scheduling a ride to Wanderers Plaza, she made sure she was presentable, wearing a comfortable pair of shorts and her last clean cat meme t-shirt, double-checking the pulse pistol in her side holster, which she had printed as soon as she could, to make sure it was active and the safety engaged. She waited outside her home in the cool, twilight air. Arriving at the farmer's market nearly an hour later, she found that the plaza was a much different place at night. While not exactly the nightlife hustle and bustle of partygoers as one would expect from those that bumped in the night, she instead found different species were out as it was darker and cooler. Spying a pair of chatting Yondera, a tall, thin bipedal race with large binocular eyes and large, thin, pointed ears, both of which took up most of the space on their heads, giving the impression of an owl mixed with a bat. As it was dusk, they had their sunglasses removed. She recalled that they were a peculiar species, hailing from a dim moon world orbiting a massive gas giant that was more akin to a failed star. While the gas giant never achieved true stellar fusion, it generated just enough heat and light, in conjunction with the system's actual star, for their moon world to have liquid water and frigid, icy poles, just as with most other actual planets. Their day was something similar to very late dusk. Gravitational forces made their moonworld very tectonically active, giving rise to multitudes of underwater geothermal vents, warming the oceans a significant deal. The skyscape from their moonworld was a truly breathtaking thing to behold, and had been featured in many tourist publications. Walking over to see what had the two of them so excited, she saw that they were haggling over projects of some kind. Getting closer, the translator she had acquired from the Tezot, with its additional language pack installations, let her hear what the two were arguing about. "This is how to grow, even on Nixtros." The female, if her knowledge of Yondera physiology was correct, Vendor declared, "This is price gouging. You can't sell these what you're asking." The other, another probable female, declared. "Well then, you go back to Nixtros and get one." "I hope they rot in your care," the patron declared and walked off in a huff. Selina walked up to the vendor and said, "That was interesting. What's got her in such a tizzy?" "This, and my demands of a fair monetary exchange." The vendor gestured to the totally venta black, grapefruit-sized, octagonal-shaped spindle of produce on the table. Selina was only able to really look at it with her prosthetic eye as it simply ate in light. "What is it?" she asked after looking at it. It was a strange bit of food. "Most species can't really see it. Meatballs can with their high visual sensitivity, but for most of the galaxy it's called a black spindle. It's an exotic fruit native to the tropics of Nixtros, grown here in a specialized greenhouse," the Yomdera vendor replied. Selina looked at the price. It was expensive. "I'm told humans like it," the vendor said, seeing Selina examine the fruit. Thinking about it, and having the credit to spare for the moment, she brought the alien fruit, and after instructed on how to remove the banana-like peel, took a bite from the green flesh. It was similar to an apple in terms of consistency and juiciness, and sweet, but very sour, like biting into a raw lemon. Selina made an involuntary face as she munched down on it. "Is it not to your liking?" the vendor asked with a tinge of concern. "Oh, no, I like it," Selina managed to say over her facial contortions. "It's just really sour is all." She bought another one to save for later. Bidding the vendor farewell, she went about her evening looking for stuff to eat and take home. Finding a Dionysus grill, she ordered some skewers, and mixed them with some kind of salad she found at another food vendor she could not recall. She sat on a bench in the plaza square that had a grand fountain in the centre. The water was sprayed very high, and different coloured lights shined onto the water in a strange and repeating sequence that traversed all colour ranges that Mipos could see. It was quite the beautiful and tranquil scene. Finally arriving home quite some time later, Selina started to put away her groceries, having bought insulated bags to transport perishables without spoiling. She had bought a lot of stuff, quite a lot actually, and had to schedule a small transportation vehicle to accommodate all of it. Now, looking at her full refrigerator for the first time, she smiled. "I've got food for days, for once." She laughed at her own antics and cleaned up what mess had been made from packaging, and found a place for the reusable and insulated bags in a cabinet. Her phone buzzed. Looking at the notification, it was someone trying to set up an appointment for prosthetic work. Bringing up her website so she could probably make a reply and set something up for the client, she saw the counter on the number of visitors. It had gone up quite a lot and was over 9,000. It would seem her and Rutak being on the news had brought her a lot of publicity. She hoped it was a good thing.